Welcome to the One Podcast with Greg Riley, where I discuss the importance of spirituality, intuition, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence in today's busy lives. By expanding our intuition and spiritual connection, our lives evolve to places we can only ever dream of.
G'day,
everybody. Welcome to another episode of the One Podcast. I'm Greg Riley, and today I've got Kylie Ryan with me. Kylie, as I said, long time admirer, first time call with you. I've followed you on Facebook for a while through a friend of ours, Jeremy, and I thank you for jumping on board because you're a fellow more than just spiritual coach. You are much more multifaceted than that. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you. Tell us a bit about myself. Well,
Where did it all start?
Where did it all start? Well, I've been coaching now, Greg, for 20 years.
Wow.
So
that's hard because you look like you're 29. Huh? So you started when you were 9 years old.
I started when I was 9 years old. I know, it's very nice. The white skin, and my mum was very vigilant about wearing sunscreen when I was a kid. So I'm 43. I started when I was 23. And just really blessed to come across NLP actually when I was in my early 20s. I was kind of, my parents had got divorced and I went to uni and I started partying and put on heaps of weight and was kind of sleeping around and, taking drugs, in debt, all sorts of like crazy things that 20-year-olds do, stuff. Which, just all the normal stuff. But like, I wasn't super happy. I wasn't really thriving. I was like pushing 100 kilos, which is a lot of kilos for my frame and like about 40 extra that I need. And so I was not in a good way, I was not in a good way. And so I stumbled across NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, that's short for the uninitiated. And it was through one of my singing teachers, actually, because I'm a singer as well.
Yeah.
And she had just kind of discovered this new technology, this new kind of psychological process, coaching process. And she was like, hey, I need someone to practice on. And I was like, sure, that sounds fun. My 20-year-old self. And we did some work, limiting belief clears, all of the standard kind of NLP processes. Yeah. And it just, Greg, it changed my life. Like literally, it was like, those old black and white movies where, like, I don't know, A Wonderful Life or something where it's like it's black and white and then something happens, it goes to color. It's like, that's what it felt like for me. I was like, whoa, right? Literally, like the Wizard of Oz, like changed, it just changed everything. And like I was like, how long has this been going on? And that was really from that very first session, I was kind of hooked on transformation. I'm like, whoa, like this is incredible. And like, how long has the world been like this? And I just didn't notice. And so, in that I did a kind of series of coaching with her when I was like, she was practicing with me. And in the year post that, I like stopped partying and lost weight and met the man I'm now married to and started singing professionally in a band and did my coaching certification and, a whole bunch of things. It was just like my life turned around in the year after changing and shifting my unconscious mind. And so I was like, sign me up. What do I need to do? Take all my money, which I didn't even have any money. Take all of it.
Take all of it. Nothing. Yeah.
Take my credit card. Oh, hang on. But I just learned everything. I learned everything I could. And I was very, very lucky that, because my teacher was a good friend and had been my singing teacher, I became her apprentice.
Yeah.
And so what is actually quite rare these days in the coaching industry, I had like a 5-year apprenticeship. I did kind of 2 or 3 years with her, and then I did another 2 years with another hypnotherapist, weight loss coach, who maybe you might know, Greg, Mark Stevens. Do you know Mark Stevens?
I know of Mark Stevens. I've never met him.
You know of Mark Stevens?
I know what Mark Stevens.
Yeah.
I've seen Mark Stevens on TV. So, Yeah.
We've all seen Mark. So Mark, I was Mark's assistant like
cool.
way back, and I was like his assistant coach. And so, you know, hearing him on the phone doing the things, and so I learned a lot from Alice Hemley, who I love and adore, and also from Mark, and you know, just very different characters, and that experience of just being immersed as a young coach, with masters around me kind of doing their thing, and just being every day in the practice of it. It was, you know, when I look back on it now, it was just invaluable. And so that really kind of got me started. And so I was like singing in nightclubs by night and doing coaching by day, and had that whole thing going in my 20s, which was fun, like Batman or Catwoman or something. Catwoman probably more like.
We all need some kind of superhero character to jump into, right? So,
I mean,
what would mine
it was
be?
good fun.
Yeah, interesting what I'd be. I think Green Hornet, I think I'd be. Yeah.
Ooh, the Green Hornet. I like it. So that was my first 10 years, and then I just kind of, you know, got married and had kids, and so the second decade has been no more nightclubs. Hang up my nightclub shoes.
Yeah.
my nightclub shoes, and raise my children. And so I've been, you know, running my coaching business and helping people in all various ways, and just looking after my kids. And
cool.
that's kind of brings us up to now, short version.
Yeah, one of my questions was, why do you do what you do, right? And so you sort of actually captured some of it as to
a little bit
why you're actually doing it. What motivates you to actually do what you're doing now? Because you, like you said, there's coaches out there, and I see this in the psychic industry as well too, because I'm a avid hater of Hay House. People know I'm an avid hater of Hay House. Of the 3-day accreditations, right? Where you go in on the Friday, you're not psychic. On the Monday, here's your deck of tarot cards, and you go and fuck up people's lives.
You're suddenly psychic. Here's
your
sidekick, you're now a psychic.
I spent 5 years in circles, and my mentor, she would kick my ass if in the first 2 years, you're not reading for anybody. You know, go and do some stuff. She would kick my ass if I was like you say, these days you're a coach, and it's like I remember the moment, one of my moments where I actually sort of just, one of the many things I lost faith in sort of the psychic stuff or the spiritual phase have been, you can do Reiki attunements by watching a video and get your accreditation and Reiki attunements. Like, oh fuck, the whole thing's gone to shit now.
With video.
Anyway, yeah.
I've gone through my do it all online. I've gone right through, Greg, my righteous teacher phase. I'm out the other side of it. But I am a very big advocate for lineage and apprenticeship and doing your time and mastery and mastering your skills and not misrepresenting your expertise and all. Like, I've spoken at length about that for a very long time. So I'm with you on it.
What's the deeper, is there anything
the deeper why?
The deeper why that you actually, what motivates you to do what you do?
What motivates me? It's such an interesting question. I mean, at the core, I just feel, and kind of ever since I've been aware of it, I've been that type of person that, people would go to when they're feeling upset or would confide in. Like, even when I was a kid, things like that would happen, and have had, a few clairs activated since my childhood, and, used to hear voices and, crazy things and see things and what have you. And so as a kid going through that experience, feeling just the kind of loneliness or isolation of experiencing a world that other people didn't seem to experience, created quite a sense of like, what are these humans like? Kind of curiosity of like, what are these humans like, and why am I not like them in significant ways? And like, why can other people not see the things that I can see? And why can they not hear the things that, like, what is this? Like, am I crazy or what's going on? So initially, I guess there was that just deep desire to understand and to make sense of myself within this world, right?
Yeah.
Within this 3D reality. And then just having this kind of deep sense of empathy and sensing when people are in distress and wanting to support that. And then kind of as that's grown, it's just really solidified into quite a staunch sense of mission around raising the consciousness of the planet. And very much, thinking about just the state of the planet right now, the polarity in viewpoints, the ecological collapse in a bunch of like the AI exponential tech, the, AI arms race, quantum computing, all of these things. It's like our level of technological capacity has now outstripped our ability to wield it wisely. And so I really feel that urgency as a mother, even more so, of what is the world that I'm leaving my children, and how can I support and put like the full weight of my existence into raising the consciousness so that we don't blow the planet up like we might have done before.
I think it's a massive shift happening. I'm seeing it in clientele. I think there's a shift that's happening that
it's a big shift happening.
It's massive.
It's a big shift happening.
That answer itself has got so many questions from there, but let me start off with this.
Go wherever you want to go.
You started off with NLP, but you're not NLP anymore. You're much, much more there. So let's talk about the evolution of your coaching abilities over, since you started that original journey,
20 years.
You do NLP teaching and you stopped doing, teacher stuff, right? But what you do now, NLP was the start of it, but tell us the journey to get to where you are right there, because what you do now is very profound.
Thank you. Yeah, it is profound, and it's multidimensional and, very mystical. And I feel like finally I've kind of like 20 years in, I feel like I've kind of landed in, yes, there's always more to learn, of course, and there's always an ever expanding mystery. And I feel really solid and integrated in myself and in my skills and in my own kind of sense of what I do and how I can support people, which feels very well-rounded. So, yeah, I guess when I started, like I said, as a child, I had quite strong intuitive gifts, to the point where, I would hear voices when I was like 7 or 8, when I would go to bed at night, and it was like I was a radio antenna, and there were just millions of signals coming in from all different places, in all different languages, and all different weird things. And I was like a bit trying to be fire hosed with information. And so for a few years, I was kind of terrified to go to sleep, because that would be the falling asleep pattern. And then once I would go to sleep, I would have these horrific dreams of death, of everyone around me dying, and kind of like hiding under the stairs, and like a few horrific kind of recurring dreams. And then also I would occasionally wake and have the sleep paralysis of, not fully back in your body yet. So it's like, so that little combo of fire hose on the going to sleep, horrific nightmares, and then waking up paralyzed like something was sitting on you, made me quite scared to go to sleep. And my dad's quite, Catholic religious. My mum's kind of agnostic atheist. And so, and both kind of very practical, pragmatic people. And so I didn't really have anyone that I could talk to about it. And so I just isolated, and I kind of went into my own little inner world, and I read voraciously as a kid. So, to the point where I don't know if you know of that book, but you're of the right vintage, but similar vintage to me. Of I read when I was 11, Clan of the Cave Bear, which when I reflect now, it's like it's about shamanism and about learning shamanism. So I read that as a child, and then kind of went on to read the other books, which get increasingly saucy. And so the teacher like called my mum, was like, "Hey, do you know your daughter's reading this book?" And she was reading it as well. And I read so much faster than her, but I'd always had this kind of, and so this like reading these intense books about shamanism and, fantasy stories about, witches and dragons and healers and magic. And so that was very much my kind of inner landscape. And I grew up on a farm with horses. And so I had a lot of alone time as a child and would spend a lot of time out in fields, picking daisies and playing with the fairies and things like that. And so the mystic gifts were very strong as a child.
Yeah.
But I also turned them off when you got a bit too scared. I was like, enough, no more. No more. So I like cut it off for a while. As much as I could, and just focused on my studies and went to uni, that type of thing, and then got into NLP and always was interested in, what have I got, like the Celestine Prophecy or the Holographic Universe, those kinds of seminal books that I kind of read in my late teens.
And a long time ago, the Celestine Prophecy, that was a very long time ago. Geez, that was
very long.
Very
right.
Long time. Yeah. What's the Celestine Prophecy? I remember I picked it up from a TS bookshop in Melbourne, right? That's how old it is, like the old TS bookshop. That's not there anymore, right? So,
I know. It's like, but all of those kind of spiritual books and that type of, the kind of mysticism and the personal growth. So I was always kind of interested in that stuff. And so it kind of found me. And then when I found NLP, NLP is very kind of mental, emotional. For those who don't know, it's kind of an alternative version of cognitive behavioral therapy, hypnotherapy, kind of blended into a paint by numbers version that is taught more or less better, depending depending on who you're learning with.
I think I've done my NLP. I remember it's didn't Bandler sort of mimic Erickson to get it?
Yes. So Bandler and Grinder modeled Milton Erickson, amazing, like father of hypnotherapy, of modern indirect hypnotherapy, Virginia Satir of family therapy, Fritz Perls of Gestalt therapy, and so and who else? Gregory Bateson. And so like really like profound therapists, and Bandler was really good at modeling. He was kind of an acting vibe student, and then Grinder is the professor. And so they came together and made this modality in Esalen, in Santa Cruz. And that was kind of the human potential movement that kind of comes through the lineage of Abraham Maslow, all of that. So NLP. And then Tony learned NLP when he was young. And so one of my mentors, Michael Hall, was kind of there in those early days. I've got some of his books just above me on my bookshelf. And Michael talks about how they kind of messed up with NLP with Tony, because Tony didn't want to pay the licensing to train people in NLP that Bandler and Grinder wanted. And so then he just made his own thing. And it's basically all of Tony's stuff is NLP. It's pretty much all NLP.
But that's the thing, like you mentioned the spirit. I just want to continue on this thing about your stuff, because what I found is standard therapy misses a big chunk of stuff.
Does it ever? Does it ever?
That's the spiritual aspect.
That's the spiritual aspect.
Yeah, and
100%.
That's why I love your stuff is going down that path of the evolution of the NLP into other coaching modalities. And that's why I like what you do, is you're not one trick wonder trying to make money out of people is you've done some deep, long-term research in accreditations and the hours, the blood, the sweat, the tears, and then you've added this spiritual aspect to it. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's so amazing, Greg. It's because, so I did NLP and that was kind of my main modality. And I love and adore NLP. And I really believe that when you trained well in NLP, it gives you such a good grounding in language and communications and persuasion, and, hypnosis, all of those things. But it is very mind-based and, a little bit emotions. And so it kind of references, yes, the spirit, yes, the body and the mind and the body are connected, but it's very mental. And so then what is it now, 2024? So 6 years ago, I'd done like theta healing and matrix therapies and auric healing and DNA activation.
You like matrix healing?
Right?
Oh, God.
Pip. so I know Pip well. So yes, matrix therapies, that was amazing. I had an incredible experience doing matrix therapies. But yeah, so all of these different kind of therapies, and matrix is a little bit spiritual, theta healing is also a little bit spiritual, then I kind of went down this path with sacred geometry and kind of ancestral healing and all of the, weird woo-woo quantum stuff. But it wasn't until I met my friend Dane, who just messaged me actually, Dane, who's created the spiral and utilizing emotional clearing.
We're talking about Dane Thomas here. Okay, so
we're talking about Dane Thomas here, my wizard friend.
He looks like a wizard too.
He has really gone fully into the wizard, and I love and adore him for it. He's full wizard. He's fully committed. I love it. There's even magic on the cheek and a pentagram on the neck or something. Those are new, recent-ish tattoos. But Dane, as a student of comparative religion and an NLP, student, and so I met him. It's so weird, the full circleness of it, because just before this call, I was teaching for the NLP Association, and I first met Dane when I was interviewing him about 8 years ago for that same association, when I was sitting on the board for the NLP Association. So anyway, that was just a weird full circle. But anyway, when I met him, he was talking about this modality that he was working on that incorporated the chakra system from Ayurveda and David Hawkins' levels of consciousness. Love and adore, like David Hawkins' work, and spiral dynamics as the kind of three main models. And he'd kind of done a synthesis connection of like, how do these things overlap? And when I spoke to him that first time, I was like, I love all those models too. And like, I was a real synthesis. I mean, I am a real synthesis models nerd. And so I was like, tell me more about all this thing. And so I learned the modality. And we use muscle testing as an access point for working with clients, and then kinesiology, acupressure points to release emotions through the meridians, release it energetically. And it was going through that training was like working with, very actively working with the 5 bodies. So spiritually, energetically, mentally, emotionally, and physically. That was the kind of full rounded piece that allowed me to integrate all of my mystic, intuitive, spiritual gifts into my coaching, and the NLP and the chakras and the energy and the muscle testing is like all kind of came in together into this. I'm like, what? I've got all my tools in my toolkit. I'm fully locked and loaded. Like there is no problem on no plane of existence that I can't like access and deal with. No demons can touch me now. So it's like, okay, I've got you guys covered. So that was fun. So I learned the practitioner training, and then very quickly became a guest teacher in that community. And then various things happened, and May, my business partner in that, we ended up buying that modality because, I love teaching and I love, I'd been training NLP, and Dane was ready to move on and do other things and go off and wizard some more things. And I was just so enamored with this modality and so much I just really believe in it, and I believe that it's so powerful, and I wanted it to be stewarded well. And so May and I took it over, and we've been kind of revamping the training. But it's been that's been the method that has allowed me to bring everything together into a kind of cohesive system that allows me to like really laser in on the exact block that is going on for someone, and very quickly like utilizing the muscle testing for now 6 or so years actively with clients every day and with myself every day. It's just given a laser precision to my intuitive abilities as well. So it's almost like a training wheels for intuition, because utilizing the maps and models allows me to just kind of laser in on what's going on and incorporate all of the wisdom traditions into, a kind of synthesis model where we can track back to, oh, is that an ancestral thing, or is that a past life thing, or are you like accessing, so have you left a piece of your soul somewhere?
Okay.
Somewhere in something or some time or place. Whoops.
Yeah.
Let's just call it all back.
Yeah.
So that's been the method. And obviously, we all have our own individual kind of soul gifts and pathways and things to walk. And so, I've also kind of been on a journey of, remembering all of the different aspects of my own multidimensional nature as well, which may or may not be too much to go into. But
I was saying, but you do, you learn through your clients.
So
we
much.
are useless without our clients. We're just people with a lot of knowledge, which is pretty much useless.
Right.
So, it's this symbiotic kind of relationship between people who need our help and us being able to expand into our connection with some of this stuff.
100%. It's just so the benefit of working with clients, and you know this as well, like the benefit of working with clients for over such a long time is that it gives you this sense of peace or faith or just trust in the divine order, and trust in, that every suffering has an equal and opposite benefit, or will, wisdom that comes from it. And so for myself, being able to see that over and over and over again, that sometimes someone's worst suffering moment in their life has been the catalyst for their greatest success or their greatest creation, or that it's like there's equal and opposite, you guys. Like,
where the spiritual stuff comes in, right? This is the whole gamut about
100%.
This is the path you chose, right? And
this
I
is
want
the
to look at that path in a second, but I want to ask another question, because you've been around the trips for a bit. Is therapy and coaching overcomplicated these days? About people making it way too complicated for people to take here.
Short answer, yes. Short answer, yes.
Yes.
Long answer, there's lots of reasons why that is the case. And everybody has the best on both ends, for both coaches and therapists. And there's lots of well-meaning reasons why that is the case.
Yeah.
If you think, I think about, I utilize spiral dynamics a lot as just a lens of understanding the world. And when I think about, all of the regulations and all of the hoops that therapists need to jump through in order to be accredited and those types of things, there's value, and it's important to have accreditation and hoops to jump through. Absolutely. And the lack of regulation in coaching, like there's arguments for and against that. It's a wild west.
Cowboy City.
It's Cowboy City. And so it's very much like buyer beware, do your due diligence. But I think one of the benefits of Cowboy City is that a lot more innovation can take place for people.
Correct.
Right? For people like yourself and myself, who genuinely are professionals in how we approach our work. And it's like I've got free reign. Like I can do whatever I want. If someone's a willing participant,
I can give a client a hug.
I love hugging clients.
Just like it's like I wasn't it like she says I've been there before, and after the first session she's just bored and she says so people say, what are you talking about? What there was never touched me. I said give me a hug. Like
give me a hug. It's
don't
like
give me shit.
Right?
Yeah.
Co-regulation, nervous system regulation, like it's quite a normal thing. Right? It's care. It's care. But, you can see as well how someone takes the piss, someone takes it too far, gets a bit touchy-feely, and then suddenly it's a big issue. But,
Don't even start on the men in this industry who take care and take advantage of it. But yeah,
I know. That's a whole different story.
It's a whole of it. We can talk forever. We're having you back on the way to talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
Because you've got, some models that, especially standard therapy, is very much let's talk about your problems over and over and over again.
Yes.
And over again. And then it feels like
let's just embed them some more.
Let's talk about that stuff and more. Who's to blame for shit? Whereas it feels like spiral dynamics is very much a accountability model, which is hard for people to sort of understand. It's like to go into that depth of accountability and go, I own my shit and my role on this thing.
Yeah.
It's very confronting for people. And then understanding about your soul's journey in this way about you actually created this reality. You created the darkness. Yeah. Because that's part of the art.
Yeah.
Right? We have this balance between the shadow and the light, right? And they both to coexist. They're both servants of each other, right?
Coexist.
And you're getting a therapist talking about that stuff. And we are.
It's spiritual
kind of
truth.
This dance with the people about consciousness and the nature of reality.
For sure.
And it's so fucking good. It's great.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I'm like, every bit of me is here for this. Yeah. But it's like,
so tell us a bit about spiral dynamics in that kind of realm of what it looks like when someone comes to see you for the first time.
I love it. Okay. So I have this diagnostic that I take my private clients through that, so we work with the kind of overlap of the chakra system from Ayurvedic wisdom and spiral dynamics from kind of Western psychology tradition.
Yep.
And that's the kind of base. And then we overlay it as well with levels of consciousness. So from shame through to enlightenment, from the base chakra through to the crown chakra, from beige meme in spiral dynamics, which is about survival, through to systemic wisdom and going up into second tier consciousness from yellow into teal. And I'm kind of talking jargon now, but the idea is that we move from all of those models, and even it kind of also generally overlays with Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs from survival through to self-actualization through beyond that, his last level of self-transcendence, transcending the self and the ego. And so all of these different traditions from different angles, I think of it like a diamond, and, there is the truth of reality, whatever that is, truth in inverted commas, or like as best as we in our human minds can understand it. And all of these different wisdom traditions, all of these different thinkers or philosophers or, poets are looking at this nature of reality from their lens and pointing at one piece of it. And the more lenses that we can, the more multidimensional lenses that we have to look at it, we can understand more aspects, right, of our own nature. And so when I'm taking a client through, I do this like really simple little diagnostic that takes people through a series of statements, and I can just kind of measure from that how well are their chakras currently functioning, because it's like you've got your seven embodied chakras, which I like to call power centers for those who find Sanskrit Indian words a little bit like, oh, that's like unusual for me and feels a bit strange. So for the more regular folk, I like to call them power centers. And if you think about a car with like a V8 engine, right? Yeah. You want all of your eight, whatever they are. Power centers. What are they?
Cylinders.
8 somethings? Yeah. Cylinders. You want all of your 8 cylinders firing. right? And so we are, in our central column of power centers, we've got 7 power centers. And so you want all of those power centers firing and communicating with each other and flowing freely. All of your chi or your prana or your energy or your life force or your charisma or your sex drive, you want all of it to be flowing and floating and working and, in flow. And so if you think influence, affluence, energy are all about flow of energy.
Yeah.
And the flow of energy flows through our power centers. And so if anywhere in your life you're blocked in relationships or money or your ability to move forward in your business or, whatever it is, having trouble speaking up or not able to ask for the promotion or, can't connect with your kids or whatever it is, there's a block in one of those power centers that's just blocking the flow. And if you think of like throttling the energy, it's like the energy exists somewhere, but it's being throttled or it's being stifled or stuck. And
picking on garden hose.
And
that's
so
what
that
it's like
you got a kink in your hose, right? It's the wrong kind of kinky. We want the good kind of kinky, not right? We want the kink that makes the energy flow,
Correct.
not the kink that stops the energy to flow.
You can use that.
Right? Absolutely, I can. Yeah. So we want all the right kind of kinks. But that's the piece, right? It's like that allows me, that diagnostic gives me a very clear overview. Oh, this person's blocked in their throat chakra. So that I know immediately a series of issues that they're going to have or that they're likely to have that I can look out for.
Yeah.
And so the diagnostic gives me a really great overview. And then I take my private clients through this process, the spiral process, where over a course of 7 specific sessions, I do it over a package of 12. And we work through each of the power centers and use what I call a root clear to unlock the specific emotions that relate to that power center. So for the base, for instance, which is a huge unlocking of density, survival, safety, self-worth, ability to relax. If you have blocks around shame or guilt or dogma, like dogma and rules and conditioning, judgment, self-judgments, like when you clear those 3, a huge amount of energy gets unlocked from the base that then starts to move up through the system, right? Think of how much, conditioning, judgment, socialization, dogma about, all sorts of men, women, relationships, race, color, gender, class, all of these things, right? So many of us are carrying shame and judgment around this. It's just nuts. It breaks my heart, really. It breaks my heart because I see the potential in people. It's like, oh, here's one. I think about coaching. Like I was talking about this with my friend Jim the other day, and he loves Michelangelo's David.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this with one of my coaching friends. And I said, that's what coaching is like. It's like just, you see the essence and the genius of the person, and all your job is to just like chip away at the conditioning and the obstacles and the trauma and the things that they're carrying, the baggage that they're carrying that is blocking them from being able to see in themselves and then express and actualize the potential that lives within them. So
what do you say to people? And this, I mean, that's the essence of it. We're revealing what's already truly there, right? So
it's revealing what's there. Yeah.
Yeah. But you and I know this is going to be a bit of a stab at people. You and I know people go, Greg, Kylie, fix me. And then they go back home into the same environment, expecting to not work on themselves and expecting that you've done all the work and magically things are fixed, but they're going back home to their abusive relationship.
Yeah. So I have a solution for that. That's it's an interesting thing, right? Because where do we go? Where do I take this? So the person that doesn't want to do the work, that just wants to be fixed, that's an indication that there is a child part that needs to mature. Right. And because it's the child that just wants, like, please take all my problems away and just like magic wand fix me. They're kind of they're used to then giving their power to someone else. And
is that also
like
society based as well too? Because you're going to a doctor for a pill, you're going to you got these things where, you know, even weight loss with these EpiPens now that people for weight loss are taking this diabetic stuff, they won't go to the gym. Like, it's this societal thing where
it's conditioned.
We're conditioned in us that there's some magic thing that's going to take away our responsibility in our actions and our belief and our mindsets and the way we show up for ourselves.
I love this conversation. And like that's the journey, right? It's like, it's about locus of control, basically. It's like, where are you putting the power to change your life? And as a child, of course, we learn, right? As a very young child, our authority and power is outside of ourselves. We learn that, like, we're the child, where the power, and the parents or the carers are the external authorities.
Yeah.
And ideally, in a functioning, healthy situation, which not many people have,
right,
your parents are loving and kind and supportive and teach you to pick yourself back up after a setback. And your parents, here's the thing, your parents or your carers' voices and what they repeat to you over and over time while you're growing up in that first 0 to 7 years of your imprint phase, that basically becomes your inner voice. So then you carry that with you of, if you have critical or neglectful or emotionally absent, then there's always going to be that child part within, until you address it and heal it. There's always going to be that child part within that is looking for validation outside of themselves, looking for someone to give them permission, looking for someone to tell them the answer. And then we're socialized in school system. No, the answer is not what you intelligently come up with yourself. The answer is in the back of the book.
Which is,
just look in the back of the book and you'll get the right answer. And so we're conditioned again to rote learn, repeat, not critically think, not creative, laterally think, all of those studies of like kids are more creative before they go into school than after, all of that thing. So we're constantly being conditioned that way.
My house where my children are creative. Like,
they're so creative. So
kids.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful. Kids, so beautiful. Luckily there's paint.
I'm not buying painting anymore. But yeah.
Just let them roam free. It's like we're constantly conditioned to see power outside of ourselves. And then as adults, we're conditioned to ever since the Industrial Revolution, we've been conditioned to a 5-day work week and earning a certain amount per hour and, being kind of production cogs in the machine of capitalism. And so a part of that journey of maturing, of realizing, hey, I'm actually in charge of my life, is a journey of maturing from the child to the adult. And some people just like miss that step, or are kind of perpetually stuck in this state of a kind of version of childhood where they're looking constantly outside of themselves for government daddy to give them permission, parent doctor to tell them what to do or what pill to take. Or
it's funny because
it's a whole thing.
I would say with 100% of my clients, and even through when I was doing psychic reads, was 100% then, I never had one person walk up and say, Greg, I'm the cause of my problem. I know I'm the cause of my problem, but I need help fixing my problem. It was always someone's done something to me. They're doing something to me.
Someone else.
I'm being victimized. And then you get in the place where, in especially the relationship stage, is they're not loving me enough. The relationship is to dare try and fill a hole inside myself that I'm willing to fill my own, self-worth issues. Yeah. Then you declare all these expectations on a partner to love you enough to, so there's all this external stuff to try and, but the source of it has always been you. The common denominator in all this stuff is you. And then we can go full woo-woo and go, the only reality that does exist is actually just you.
Who is it that's manifesting this conversation now?
Correct. And I say to people, my clients, it's like,
it's both of us.
You and I are actually having the same experience here. We're actually having a different version of events, even though like people are watching this going now, we're seeing a thing, but people who are watching this now aren't seeing what we're seeing, and I'm not seeing the same thing as Kylie's seeing.
No. Exactly. It's wild. You might go, well, that's different screens, or you're in different spaces, or like, and that the kind of logical answer is that, but your eyes are different and your reality filters are different. And so, one of the things that we learn in NLP, kind of the 101 of NLP, is that your perception is the projection of your background, your cultures, your imprint, your language, and this, right? If you, the kind of classic example is if you've ever bought a new car, and then suddenly you see that car everywhere, like everyone suddenly got that car, or your wife is pregnant, and then like suddenly that's like everybody's pregnant and there's strollers everywhere. Like, where were all those strollers and pregnant women before that?
But everyone expects
they were always there.
Yeah, everyone expects other people understand their point of view. Like like they don't see reality the same way you do. The greatest gift you can have is to step in someone's shoes and view it from their point of view and understand why they are acting that way based on how they view things and perceive things, or upbringing in that. And there's the power in people. There's intuition, there's self-awareness, there's self-assessment, there's accountability, there's heart space, there's connection, there's communication, and then in that space, beautiful shit just fucking opens up.
It's so exciting, and I'm so like pumped that you're as vehemently
direct,
addressing and advocating and correct, vehemently correct and advocating for personal power. Direct and correct. Direct about it, because like that's it, but I'm equally direct and intense about that when I'm probably all the time, but when I'm especially in sessions with you, I'm like
as if you want to sit here and whinge
like,
about
are you here to change?
Yeah.
Are you here to change, or are you here to because I'm not here for complaining. I'm here for change.
That's the person down the road.
I'm not interested in complaining.
It's hard for people to hear, right?
Go see a counsellor.
Yeah, they'll take it off. Yeah. And it's hard for people to sort of hear, but it comes from a place of love, because like you said before, we can see the essence of who you truly are is waiting to come out or be, dissolved away from what's on the outside. We're going, stop mucking around. We can get you there, but stop fucking whinging.
Yeah. And it's an interesting piece, because there's a balance, right? For you want to having compassion for the person and compassion for the inner child, and separating out having like ruthless honesty and like no sympathy for the coping behavior, no sympathy for the coping behaviors or the excuses, or like separating out the person from the behavior, so that we can have compassion for the person and also hold them to a higher standard, and that's a delicate balance to walk.
That's the mastery of, that's finding people like you and me, right? That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
When you have somebody, and that's why I say, people now, when I said before, things are changing. If you find a person in this position who, like you and I, have a very high intuition, we are rare. We are like hen's teeth. We are like it's having like a superpower in that space, because you can dance this kind of dance, right? And have this kind of accountability about this great care and love for somebody's, journey that they've been on, and you can see it, right? But this is why it takes years and years and years and years and years to get to this position. You can't learn this in 3 weeks. And having someone like us to sit there and see what you can't see is very rare out there.
It's invaluable. It really is invaluable. And what the other piece to this, Greg, that I think you'll resonate with is, you can't, as a coach or therapist or practitioner of any kind, you can't take someone deeper than you've gone yourself. You can't take them to a place of self-awareness that is deeper than you've gone, or you know, you can't take them with empathy into something that you still judge, because it's just not possible. Their unconscious mind won't feel safe to reveal it. And so people tell me things like within seconds of meeting me that they often say, I've never told this to anyone before. Like, you're the only person that understands me when I say these things. And like hundreds of people say that to me. And that's because I've gone to the darkest places in my own psyche. I have, you know, gone deep into the dredgy, sludgy, awful, self-judgy of my own self. And, you know, my family lineage and all of these different things, shadow work. And when you can accept that about yourself, it makes you a very compassionate and powerful, direct person, because, you know, you can have compassion and go, hey, this is a shadow here, and I see beyond it. I don't just see the shadow, I see what's on the other side, because I've walked my own version of that journey.
And everyone's sort of had this thing about the shadow side being the negative, right? Like, and I'll talk to my face, so the shadow is not your negative, right? You may do some bad shit, right? Welcome to the club.
It's not
right?
at all.
But it is the dynamic and the dance of this, you know, and the light and the dark serve each other, right? And again, it's this, we're having a renaissance in the world, and there's these coaches that are very more of an alchemist kind of way. You know, we'll take the platelets and side out of it with people, because that's a whole other different story. But
it's a whole other story.
It's a whole other story we can discuss one
but
night.
Also a fun one.
Tell that to myself 10 years ago when I had my head in the pipe at the University of Nothing. I went, holy shit, where the fuck am I? What's going on? Anyway.
But here you are now.
Exactly.
Yeah. The alchemist.
Yeah, so you're having these very intuitive coaches who are having this place where it's an alchemy of someone's transformation.
Yeah.
It's not, it is this turning lead into gold. So it's helping your shadow. It's amalgamating every aspect of self, the parts, like you said, you left behind, the stuff that you're ashamed of, because that's the pathway. That's the good stuff. That's the portal to your next evolution.
It 100% is the portal. And that's the thing, is like, people avoid it because they don't want to feel those sludgy, awful, uncomfortable feelings. They avoid it. And then they live these conditioned lives following, ticking the boxes, right?
Yeah.
It's like a puppet. I'm ticking the boxes. I'm doing all the things. Why am I not fulfilled? Why am I feeling depressed? Why am I anxious? Why am I suicidal? I've got all of the boxes of life success. Why am I still not happy? Well, maybe face your unhappiness. Maybe face your unhappiness and go right through it and face the places, you know, that are scary.
I mean,
and that's
even the word,
it's a
like,
big thing.
It is, like, even the word depression. There's a misconception about. I know I said to one of Marcus ages ago, and he'd been to see many people, and I said, let's take the negativity out of the word depression, because basically all your body's telling you is to say stop,
rest, deep rest.
Right?
Yeah.
And let's just go into that space, and let's use the depression, or what it's really there for. Let's stop and nurture that stuff. Let's just
slow you down.
Slow yourself down. Right? You know? And then he sort of saw that even that shift in mindset around the word itself.
Yeah.
He did exactly that. It was like, this is not this bad negative thing that's being labeled. That I've got depression, I've got a mental order or mental disorder. It's like, no, you do need to re-switch it, because the depression is and I watched the thing today, and I'm going in tangents about, I was thinking about Peter Crow, a friend of mine, Christiana, sent this to me, right, about suicide.
Yeah.
And it was this constant thing. It's not that you want to die, it's the version of you that you're not happy with wants to evolve and die, right? So the depression sort of linked to that is that there's a version of you that needs to die and evolve, right? And the depression is the way through into that next version of yourself.
Yes. Amen. 100%. Aho. all of the things, right?
Yeah.
And people avoid it. And have you seen that YouTube video of the rabbi talking about the lobster?
No,
The
I
lobster on
haven't seen that.
Prozac?
No.
Oh my God. I'll send you the link, but it's so good. You've got to hear it in the rabbi's voice, but I'm gonna do a version. So imagine that a lobster is depressed and feeling like cramped and like he wants to break out of his shell.
Yeah.
But he goes to his psychiatrist and gets some, Prozac or Valium or whatever for his depression and his anxiety. And then he goes on with his life, right? Yeah. Just taking the thing, never actually breaking out of his shell, because the stress, the like wanting to break out of his shell is actually a sign that he needs to go in under the rock and break out of his shell and crack the whole thing open and be in that deeply vulnerable, soft, tender, new self that then grows and grows and grows. And then the new shell hardens around it and he's bigger.
But in that moment where he
doesn't crack it.
He doesn't crack it, but the moment when he breaks through that shell, he's the most vulnerable, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because the flesh is open.
100%.
And that's what we're scared of,
the flesh
right?
is open. That's what we're scared of. It's like, so you've got to go in under the, like, have a safe space, have a cocoon. And that's the difference. Like, this is my personal bugbear about the coaching industry, that if I could just transmit one piece of information to every coach, this would be the thing. It's like the difference between first order change and second order change. And so first order change, for those who don't know, first order change is changing within a system. So making it more efficient, making it work faster, making it more smooth, very valuable type of change, right? Making a current system more efficient, more effective, working better. Great, very valuable. That's first order change. Second order change is a change of the system. That's the cracking through the shell. That's the cocoon moment. And so I see a lot of people who are leaning into and wanting, who are like the lobster, wanting to, and their soul is kind of crying out for a transformational change, and they go and get first order change advice, and it just prolongs the problem. And I think about it like putting roller skates on a caterpillar, right? It's like the caterpillar wants to go faster and feel the wind in its hair and is feeling an urge to like do like, I want to go faster. And so the first order change is, here, I've got some roller skates, I've got a skateboard, you can go faster. This is what you wanted, isn't it? You wanted to go faster. But a transformational coach, a deep alchemist like you and I, goes, hey, that sign of wanting to go faster, the paradox of that, the stress that you're feeling means that you actually need to slow down.
Yeah.
And discover like what is the environment that you're in? Like, what is the alchemical change? Where are you feeling stuck? Where are you feeling like frustrated? How can we go deep within that and dissolve the part that, like you say, wants to die, so that what wants to emerge has space to come through, has space to grow,
And
oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're definitely have to do another one of these. Because the problem is that you've got people, like you said, it's that fasting. I want it quick, I want it fast, I want it fish, I want it now, right? Spiritual, or let's call it spiritual awakening.
Yes, spiritual awakening.
Spontaneous.
It's not. It can be.
But it's like the overnight success. There's a music. It's the 5 years for an overnight success.
Yeah. 5, 10, 20
years kind of stuff. Because
I'm still on my 20-year journey to overnight success, Greg.
This thing against society is we want these things without having to do the hard work.
Yeah.
And delving into the spiritual aspect of ourselves is a real take your time.
It's scary, and you need to take your time, and you need to integrate. And like one ayahuasca ceremony, and like Bob's your uncle, you're fixed, and now you're suddenly enlightened. Like, it doesn't quite work like that.
You see some weird,
which is fun.
But yeah.
You do. It's like it's the integration.
But like it's even in that
It's
space,
integration.
with on psychedelics. The problem with the Renaissance and psychedelics these days, people think it is. You have one session and then all of a sudden you're Jesus, right? And that's where well, my coaching comes from is the fact is let's go integrate this shit for 6 months. Like you've had
let's
that.
integrate it.
Now let's for the next 6 months integrate what you got told and shown in there, because that's the power of psychedelics. Is not just
where the gold is.
That's where the real gold is. It's telling you to go, you can have that experience and see this stuff and experience this stuff and the oneness of the weird shit you do see. But coming
you can integrate it into your life.
Yeah, and this is where the disconnect is. People come back and go back to normal jobs and think, oh, I've had a day. Like, I'm all of a sudden going to start wearing beads and grow a beard and shit. It doesn't change the base level.
Yeah. And that's the integration piece. So it's like it's almost becomes when it's not prepared for and it's not done in a sacred ceremony and it's not integrated correctly, it becomes this dissociated peak experience that then doesn't infiltrate into life.
Yeah.
But if you have good integration protocols, and it's interesting because some of my friends run the CPAT course for psychedelic assisted therapy that is now becoming a thing in Australia. And the whole idea is that there's 2 or 3 dosings, I think, of psilocybin and 400 hours of therapy after or post to help the integration process and with integration coaches and stuff like that. So, it's coming along, and like anything in the Wild West, there's wildness.
There's wild.
That's we
real wild.
That's we figure there's wildness as we figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, you hear of, some of these rogue shamans, like they get the same thing. You got rogue coaches who do a
overnight shaman.
And there's overnight shamans out there who do one session, all of a sudden they're buying MDMA.
Taking ayahuasca does not make you a shaman.
No. I mean, the thing is, call off will be done close to 100 now. I'm nowhere near a shaman, right? So,
right.
for me,
it's a journey.
Just about, the experience of teaching is that place where it's a deep symbiotic kind of, it's mind guide there.
Yeah.
I'll go there.
Exactly. It's like the plant becomes the teacher, or I've been working a lot with Bufo, and the Bufo becomes the teacher, and the medicine becomes the teacher, and you surrender to an apprenticeship with it, to an initiation journey.
It's a stripped you bare.
It's not easy.
And that's the thing.
It's not easy.
But you can feel it. Like I'm in sessions, like, what do I say here? And you can feel the plant coming through and just going, talk about this, right? Anyway, so that's So it's
a whole piece. But the thing I think that's interesting is with integration, it kind of goes back to your point of I want to just take the pill and then not do the work, or I just want to go to the hypnotherapist or the psychic or the whatever, the coach or business coach, and I want them to give me the answers, and I don't want to, then I just go and I'm done. And it's actually about the integration of that insight, whether the insight comes from a plant or a therapist or whatever it is that creates some peak experience of like, I have the answer and I see something new and my paradigm is shifted and my world is expanded. I've gone from black and white into color or whatever that is like I've had some peak shift.
Yeah.
Now, how do I take that peak shift and internalize it and allow it to become a new threshold by which I measure my life experience, and how I can start, like, how can I start to titrate and integrate that into my daily life so I can have little mini peak experiences, maybe through breath work or through meditation or through just cuddling my kids a bit longer with more presence, or through amazing ecstatic sex and being fully present there. How can I actually bring that and make that a part of my life? And it's almost like
it's
like a jump start.
It is. This is where you need someone to bounce off. That's the whole point. Like coming back and then
100%.
Still in the wilderness. What do I do now? It's like I've had this mystical experience. But
who do I talk to about it? How do I make so that's just like I've had this mystical experience. So there's a spiritual shift, but I haven't then mentally integrated it. I don't know how I feel about it. I haven't energetically solidified it within my energetic system, and I haven't physically connected it into my cellular memory and made a DNA shift and a shift in my habit. So it's like that 5 bodies model I find so profound in that, because if there's no behavioral shift, it's not fully integrated all through the 5 bodies. And so it's gotten stuck somewhere. So like that's what you need the integration for. And you need to have talk it out with someone, have some friends, have a therapist to talk with, work it through with an expert, those types of things.
I've got a dream one day. I haven't told anyone this. This is the first person I've told this to.
Tell me. See? Just happened again.
It just happens, right? You know how in America it was cool to have a therapist years ago? Like, it was always like, I've got this therapist and I've got that therapist. I've got a dream that everyone has a spiritual coach.
Amen.
Like, everyone has someone that's kind of a spiritual guide for them.
Yeah.
And that's where I hope it gets to. You go out and you're talking around and these big Hollywood CEOs and, well, I do know some Silicon Valley people who do, and I know
some of them do. They have their personal guru.
But I hope that it shifts, because when you work from this space, you move purely from your head and you work purely from your heart, and you do what's right.
Yeah,
you do what is that based on values, and it would shift and change a lot of things and a lot of behaviors we actually do today. So that's my. If someone said to me, "What's your dream, Greg?" My dream would be everyone is open and celebrates themselves having a spiritual coach, like they did having a therapist years ago.
What a difference!
Yeah,
what a difference that would make in the world if that was the case.
Yeah, no one's actually going, I've got a spiritual coach. Like, no, I have a fucking spiritual coach. It's the best thing ever, and here's his number. Well, here's her number, right? Yeah.
Right. Amen. Yeah. And it's interesting, like when I think about that, and like, because I like to think of things like contextually in terms of society, like how has society, like what is society like now and what has it been like in the past? And so when, there's obviously you see the good and bad and the positives and negatives in all things, but like secular society and the decline of religion, which religion's like it hasn't really evolved with the times very well as an overall construct. There's a few outliers that have like taken the marketing to an extreme, but there's a couple. But generally speaking, religion hasn't kept up with the times, and so there is a void of, in a vastly secular society where a lot of people identify as atheist or agnostic or, spiritual in some way, but not in any kind of tradition, there is a void of good spiritual leadership and balanced spiritual leadership that is non-dogmatic and that is inclusive and celebrates diversity and, celebrates diversity of thought and is accepting and, blah, blah, omnicentric, all of those things. And I think like coaching is starting to fill that gap because the void is there. Like the spiritual longing is real and it has always been real. And in this particular time, this kind of decade over this last period of time, it's like that is the need for that is accelerating because the world is so increasingly unstable and increasingly polarized. We just, and increasingly shallow and, guided by consumerism and marketers rather than true values and genuine, grounded, like what is actually going to be good for you in your life? What choices is your future self going to thank you for? And, giving grounded, pragmatic advice, like we're just filling that space because it's a big bloody space. People need it.
Like you said, organized religion, it teaches the first and foremost thing is that you're separate. And it continues to push that down. The thing is that you are so separate from source, right? And then you must try
and you need a middleman.
It's a control. It's a fear-based kind of stuff, is that you're not worthy. Whereas I hate using the word spiritual because that's even in itself sort of construct anyway, right? So if you go to the path of, that samadhi stuff,
Yeah.
where
For
even
sure.
if you're doing yoga and meditation, you're still doing a tool to try and reach something that you already are. So why are you doing it in the first place, right? That's advanced esoteric stuff, right?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I've just
But we've
lost
got
the
to, like,
listeners.
sometimes we've got to make.
What's he on there?
Sometimes we've got to make the steps. Sometimes we've got to make the steps so that we
Correct.
can, go on the journey to realize it was always within us.
The
all
moment,
along,
when I had a realization that I don't have to do anything to get where I am, it's like, oh shit. Like, I'm meditate for the sake
Now
of
what?
meditating right now. I used to meditate to get somewhere, do something, try and bring in enlightenment, and it's like, what's I doing? But like you said, it's the steps to get there. I had a chat with my Gabby. Last time we talked about the evolution of ourselves over the last, 10 years of him and I talking. And, what we were available to 10 years ago is not what we're available to now. But in that space, that it's that journey of you have to go through that stuff to reach the point of you realize you don't have to do it. It's a construct again. And spiritualism is still, that's like a religion
100%.
in itself. So we're still trying to break it.
It
Use
is.
the words. We're trying to break away from that construct of that's in itself as a box.
100% with you. 100% with you. And it's like, I see myself as a bridge for that knowledge. And so it's like, how can you actually explain yourself or what you do in terms that the person that needs you will understand and can grasp onto? And so that's where I'm like, I've made my peace with spiritual coach, and like, I used to like feel squirmy, like, I'm not a regular life coach, I'm a super coach, now I'm a spiritual coach, or I'm a mystic, I'm a guide, or whatever. It's like they're all just labels. Really, I'm just a being of consciousness that is interacting with other beings of consciousness, and it's all just a game, really. But it's a fun game. And
talk to you about reality one day. I love to talk to you about reality.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
We're an hour in, so we have to book another session for that one, because that's really interesting. Because once you break that mold of, at the base of everything is thought,
the fractals,
and thought is an illusion in itself. Is that even the terminology we use, I am this, I am that, but you're not. Yeah, and that's creating separation from who you truly are. And
it's just I am.
So I am, but even that space, it's not I am, it's I am. So people may get that, not get that, but there's the I am identified with my body, and then there's the I am.
Yeah,
the different things.
They're very different things. Different things. But isn't it a fun ride?
This is the thing is, and when people want to jump down this path, right, and this is where you have people when they kind of meet people like us and they get coaching from us, they go, where the hell have you guys been for so long? Like, why aren't you guys more well known in what you're doing? And it's like, people who meant to see us will see us.
100%. It's like that's it. It's the people with eyes to see, and ears to hear, and
because, some of us
not a moment before or after.
Yeah, and we like working in the background. Even though it's like it's that thing is that it's not the us show, it's not the Kylie show, it's not the Greg show.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that, because I've been like dancing with that for such a long time. Of it's not the Kylie show. I used to even say that it's like this is not the Kylie show. I'm like, I'm here to lift everybody up and bring that. It's like it's the whole thing. And I finally I finally kind of had my own paradox moment on that of like, of course it's not the Kylie show. And because I'm now okay with it not being the Kylie show, I can make the Kylie show, because it's now no longer about me. I'm just stepping up in service of a message that I can be a conduit for, So there's like this interesting interplay that I'm kind of going through now of like, okay, not wanting to be egoic and wanting to like, okay, I'm just in the background and not wanting to be the Kylie show. And one of my friends, Ronsley, who is, you may already know, podcast AI genius, Ronsley Vaz, he's like, Kylie, because I'm, recording my own podcast as well. Haven't released it yet, but he's like, Kylie, you need to call it the Kylie Ryan Show. And I'm like, no, Ronsley, I can't do it. I can't call it the Kylie Show. He's like, Kylie, it has to be the Kylie Ryan Show. I'm like, like a little tantrum. And I'm like, all right, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I'll put myself in the spotlight for service.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
It's the duality of the paradox is hilarious.
But you can go with the paradox.
100%. It's like paradox is like my favorite place.
Yeah, it's only the meaning you give it anyway, right? So
exactly.
Good.
So watch out for the Kylie show. You can come and talk on my Kylie show in a minute. I'll ask you the questions.
All right, we're going to have another chat another day, definitely, because there's so much in this.
We're going to have another chat.
The spirit side, because I think it's really important the listeners do hear that there is I don't know, movement's the wrong word, but it's sort of like, it feels like a movement of
there is a movement.
That having access to people like us is literally game-changing in the nature of your life.
It is.
And you've got all these other groups out there, 10xing stuff, and I call it the Grant Cardone show, right? It's the nothing. I just call it Grant because Grant's that from the press, the 10xing stuff, right? Very money.
Yeah.
But then there's this evolution, because people kind of go after money,
evolution.
But there's a sacrifice of everything else in that space, and I'm seeing this at the start. So again, on the tangent, I'm seeing this shift in this men's coaching space, because a lot of men's coaches have done that path of very much it's the performance based, ice baths, breath work, primal king, in that space of this very, that alpha male kind of go after that. My value is my performance, all that kind of stuff. And there's a whole different shift coming, right? Because, and I think you may have seen this the other day when I put it out on Facebook about what do we prefer as far as a man goes, right? And I said there's a shift coming, right? And the shift is that the new man is not only passionate, protective, and safe and secure, but is highly emotional, intelligent, massive EQ, massive self-awareness, massive intuition, massive listening skills, massive communication, right? There's your man. Now
energetic awareness, like
Like, tell me,
like let me draw.
What's it like to be in a connection with a man who's got intuition and self-awareness?
It's like night and day. It's like not even.
It's clear, does it?
It's just, it's night and day. It's the difference is how deeply you can surrender as a woman, right? As a woman, when you're with a man that really can deeply sense and attune to you, you can drop into places and into pleasure and into surrender and into softness and femininity in a way that you just can't when you're not, because your own, if the man is lacking intuitive awareness and energetic sensitivity and attunement and the ability to just communicate what's going on in a somewhat effective manner. It doesn't need to be perfect, but just communicate and stay and be willing to stay in the fire of it. If a man doesn't have that, then the woman's inner masculine energy kicks in and she gets hard, protective, shut down, direct. Like I've got a really hardcore masculine, and when
man has that misconception, right? Because he's thinking, I'm doing everything everyone's telling me to do, but become this high performance man to try and get the money and the wealth, and I'm being told I'm the right thing, but your wife's just disconnected from you. And this is the communication that's missing out there, is that you've got
all these guys who were, trying to do this, yet nothing's changing.
And thinking they're following the right path.
Yeah. But then you've got all these other men who don't fit that mold, who are already, genuinely sensitive kind of guys who need this. Well, how do I get access to this? That's what I said. There's a whole shift happening.
It's a whole shift. And it's an interesting piece, like, because I definitely went on this journey. Like, I've been with my partner now for 20 years, and he's like, we got together, we were musicians together. I was singing, he was playing every other instrument. And so he has that kind of musician's artist creative sensitivity, and we like bonded in that way, and that's just like stood us through so much. And for a little while I was like, oh, I want him to be more spiritual, or I want him to be into those things that I'm into. But what I kind of came full circle on was like, he's already got the attributes that the spiritual journey would give someone, like integrity and honesty and loyalty and the ability to show up and be attuned and show up for my kids and be an amazing father. It's like he's already got the results of that, and he goes surfing and that's his spirituality. But it's like, I think a lot of women are not seeing the gold and the amazing man that is in front of them because they're looking for XYZ, them to tick the boxes, and then the men are trying to tick the boxes, and it's like ships in the night. They're not actually looking heart to heart at this beautiful human in front of them, and seeing and loving them for who they are. I think like we could go into a whole other conversation about that.
Like you said, it's right? On the list, right? It's great. All right. How can we get in touch with you?
Wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Because it'll end up in a Joe Rogan podcast 3 hours later.
We'll do a Joe Rogan. I tend to do that with people.
Have us on.
We love you.
So where do we have people find you? What have you got going on? Courses, things, accreditations coming up. What's going on?
Yes. Amazing. You can find me on the socials just under my name, Kylie Ryan, KylieRyan.com. I'm just about to revamp my personal brand website. Also, Infinite Alliance is my mastermind and mentorship for spiritual coaches and spiritual entrepreneurs to step into their thought leadership. It's a personal growth mastermind. And business is the playground that we get to play in. But it's like unashamedly personal growth first, shadow integration, all of that. So that's my thing. I am available for some very limited private coaching, expensive and priceless.
I interviewed someone the other day, and it was Oscar Chavez said this. He goes, "Greg, the people who know, they've got a saying for it: pay to play."
Pay to play. Yeah, it's like if you want a priestess, kingmaker, oracle, mystic, healer, coach, guide that can change everything in your life. It's not $500 an hour. I'm sorry. It's like you get the 20 years of my spiritual development to get to this point. That's the thing. But so that's the expensive option if you want like deep in depth. But to your point about victim and maturing and that type of thing, I'm just about to release a mini course on my method, the Heart Alchemy method, which transmutes the drama triangle into creative, mature leadership.
Oh wow!
So that will be I'll share that with you. I've actually made a PDF that just like a little ebook that distills all of this spiritual wisdom into a kind of self-coaching reflection process that you can go through. So I want to release that because, like you, I am an absolute advocate for people maturing, taking responsibility, working through their victim stuff, and actually creating the life that they want to create. And so this is one way that I can get it out there in the most easily accessible way possible. So watch out for that, and you can find me on the internet. Kylie Ryan, my mind coach, Infinite Alliance. I'll send you the links.
Oh, this has been great.
I've got too many websites.
Too many identities out there.
I've got about 5 different websites, but just find me on the internet somewhere.
I'll put some details down. Like, this has been fantastic.
We'll put the links below.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great chat. I mean, and people know I don't script this. I just said, "Do you want to rock up?" I don't have any questions. I just rocked up, right? people kind of get a bit scared with that. They kind of go,
We're in flow.
can I have a little list? It's like, no, I don't work like that. I'll just rock up and ask the first question and go, where do we go to from here? Rough bucket. So that's what.
Let's ride.
It's right. Let's do cowboy style. That's
how I roll.
So much. Thank you so much for jumping on, and I really appreciate
pleasure.
it. So, but everybody else, thank you for listening again on the One Project. And I will see you in the next episode. Catch you later.
See you in the next episode. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you for listening to the One Podcast with Greg Riley. For all my content, check out my Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. For inquiries about one-on-one coaching, please send all requests to gregsgregriley.com.au. Thank you once again for listening, and I look forward to sharing more content, creating deep insights to propel your life forward